Hello, this is the Mushroom Wizard, and I'm returning once again with another presentation regarding the mushrooms found in Saskatchewan and the ways in which we go about identifying those mushrooms and picking those mushrooms, and other mushroom picking related themes, such as today's theme, medicinal mushrooms. Now, I'm just going to start this off by saying this is not an area within which I have an expansive amount of knowledge. This is going to be mostly polypores that we're talking about, and that's the one area that I'm least comfortable with. And as well, we're talking about an area of mushroom picking that is on the cutting edge of science, but is also very contested. It involves kind of being able to differentiate what works for you between scientific findings and traditional knowledge, traditional healing knowledge or folklore. Now, for me, I prefer to look into scientific findings and scientific research. And I'm not saying that traditional folk knowledge is wrong or incorrect, but the fact of the matter is only one of those two is willing to readily accept change and grow, and that is scientific knowledge. That's the whole idea of science, is that as new information comes in, you build upon that. If you find out that your previous findings were inaccurate, then you discard them. Whereas, not to be offensive to anybody, I mean, there are still people that are consuming rhino horns to try and alleviate their flaccid penises, so to say. And I wouldn't want to include all folk knowledge in that category, but we have to admit that some of it is there around the world. So, having said that, I will mention both, but I'm going to lean more towards what is scientifically provable at this point. So, again, I do not mean to offend anybody, but that's just where I'm going to be at for this presentation. And also, if I'm missing certain points, feel free to comment on this and have a discussion. So the genre that I'm going to talk about will be Trametes, Fomitopsis, Felinus, Cryptoporus, and Inonotus. And again, what are medicinal mushrooms? Well, this presentation includes mushrooms that are either made into teas or tinctures, mushrooms that contain compounds that have various medicinal benefits, proven or otherwise. And again, I will go through what's proven and kind of leave the rest to everybody else to make their own decision on. And then mushrooms that are used in both modern medical practices as well as historic folk medicine. In fact, all of the mushrooms that will be found in this presentation are used in both. So keep that in mind. The first species that I'm going to be looking at is the turkey tail, and that is Trametes versicolor. So the bracket is tight, has tight concentric bands of blue, gray, brown, violet, yellow, rust, white, and black. Now, those may not always be present, and because there are so many colors that can possibly go into this mushroom, there is a lot of variability in terms of what this mushroom will look like. It is fan-shaped to cup-shaped. Many brackets often fuse together at the base, as they tend to have a wavy margin, especially as they grow older. They are pliable and leathery, and they're up to about 4 inches across. Here is some more photos here to demonstrate the variability in coloration and in pattern. It is quite a beautiful mushroom, as most Trametes species are, I think at least. Here again is some more demonstration of that variability in pattern and color. If If you came across the two of these side by side, you would not think they were the same mushroom. The pores are white to cream in color. They are small, round pores, and this mushroom produces a white spore print. These are saprobic. They are found on dead hardwoods with a preference for oak. And that's important, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute here. And then these occur summer through fall, and they are found in dense overlapping clusters, and they are relatively uncommon or rare in Saskatchewan. So, in terms of their medicinal qualities. So, what we can prove is what it contains, right? Just by doing simple scientific analysis. These are high in antioxidants. They contain polysaccharopeptides, and these are thought to boost the immune system. And all of these do have human trials backing this information up as well. These contain prebiotics, which help nourish and improve gut bacteria. And this has been shown to improve the efficacy of certain cancer treatments. And I'm going to talk about that in a second too. Now, the following I've put a double star on because these are only known from animal testing thus far. There are no human trials for the following. Anti-inflammatory benefits have been studied. This does provide some insulin resistance for type 2 diabetes. I would never say that that's a cure for diabetes. That doesn't really exist. And certainly I would never, ever recommend anybody with type 1 diabetes try to use this in any way because, I mean, you're not producing insulin at all. I'm a type 1 diabetic, so I know that. And it's been shown as well in animal testing to prevent fatigue. And one thing I do want to say about the cancer, I do see a lot of people stating online that this fights cancer. It has shown to have anti-tumor benefits, but we're not talking about a tincture or a tea producing that. We're talking about a laboratory created compound, right, that's injected directly into tumors of rats and stuff like that. So what this actually has shown to do is to boost certain aspects of your immune system to help you deal with chemotherapy, thus helping chemo to work better. Regardless of what you've heard, that's all I have ever been able to find about this mushroom in those terms. Correct me if I'm wrong. So here's the sad reality for a lot of people. And this is why I tend to believe that some of the qualities found in turkey tail that people claim to have experienced may very well be not quite what they think they are. The word is eluding me. Placebo, that's it, placebo. So often when people are going out and finding turkey tail, what they're bringing home isn't turkey tail. If you think you're picking turkey tail in Saskatchewan, though it is thought to occur here, I've never seen it. I don't know anybody who's ever seen it. And here's the reason why. There are so many lookalikes, and they're very close lookalikes. That's the first reason. The second reason is this is preferential, very much preferential to oak. This is very common where there is oak. And when I say oak, I mean dead oak. So you have oak trees in the city, but you don't have a whole lot of dead trees in the city. So you might find it in the city, but your chances are way down. You could find this potentially in the Qu'Appelle Valley and along the eastern or the southeastern border of the province, where there are some naturally occurring bur oak. But generally speaking, say you're up in PA National Park or something like that, and you find turkey tail, you probably don't have turkey tail, because this is going to take hold in other hardwoods where there is a whole abundance of spores around because it's growing on oak. If there's no oak around for 2,000 kilometers, chances are you're not looking at turkey tail, because there are some much more abundant species of Traumates here that they would be competing with. So I put up a true turkey tail test. This is from the Mushroom Experts site, which I adore. And you can see there all these different little tests that you have to go through to determine if this is turkey tail. And here you've got a whole bunch of other species. And some of these just says, see several other species of Traumates. Next, we have other turkey tail lookalikes. Look to the left there. That's a whole lot of species that aren't turkey tail. Some of them even have names like false turkey tail. So chances are, and I mean, this comes right down to the size of the pore on the bottom. So chances are, if you don't have the exact one fitting that turkey tail test, you're actually consuming some other type of Traumates, and that leaves only two possibilities. That all species of Traumates have medicinal benefits, and maybe they do, or again, some of these people are experiencing placebo effects and they're reporting that. The next species we're going to look at is the red banded polypore. This is a very common species in Saskatchewan. It is not Fomitopsis pinicola, as people often claim it to be. That's a European species. What we have here is Fomitopsis munsii. So the conch is made up of bands of gray, dark brown, red, orange, yellow, and then usually this order goes from kind of the base up to the margin, right? It gets lighter towards the margin. Then often you have that kind of whitish rim around the margin where new growth is forming. This is fan or rarely kind of hoof shaped. So it's either going to be like a fan bracket or more like a conch shape. It has a short stipe with a lateral attachment. That means a sideways attachment, or it's completely sessile. So it's just attached straight to the tree and there's no stipe at all. It is either cream or white along the margin there. You can see that clearly. And it is curled underneath and smooth if you run your fingers along it. It is hard and wood-like or cork-like. You can just give a good knock on it. It almost feels like it's made of wood in and of itself. And then these are pretty big. They can get up to a foot or two. I put up to 16 inches, but in all honesty, they can get even bigger than that. Here's some more for you. There's again some variability in terms of the color that you see. There's some younger ones, I think, on the left there, and they've just got that kind of red. They haven't expanded out enough to have the yellow. Then it looks there, the one that on the right is more of a conch shape as well. Here's a size reference for you, but again, that's a very small one. I've seen very large red banded polypores. The pores are cream in color, turning brown with age. They're very small, round pores. You can actually see them in the photo here. It's a really good photo that somebody took, high definition. And then it's got a pale yellow spore print. Again, here's some more shots of what the underside looks like. You can see on the left there how it kind of hits the tree and then kind of runs down the tree a bit. And then it's kind of like almost like a concave little indent on the right-hand side there. These are either saprobic or parasitic. They grow directly on either living or dead conifers. When I say living, I mean likely dying conifers. They are perennial. They occur year-round, and right, they'll be there for several years, getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And they are solitary to scattered. You could almost say they're gregarious in some places in Saskatchewan because they really do grow almost on every second tree in some places, especially in the boreal forest. They have a preference for conifers, so like spruce and pine. So this is traditionally used as a styptic, so to stop bleeding. And on that, I'm sure it is quite effective. These are known to be high in antioxidants. Again, that's something that people have tested for, and it is the case. They contain polysaccharides, which again are said to help boost to some extent portions of your immune system. Again, this is shown to have benefits from what we talked about just there to improve the efficacy of certain cancer treatments. So this contains germanium, which enhances oxygen supply to cells. All of this stuff, just to clarify, I was never sitting in a laboratory figuring this out, right? This is simply what I've found doing research. I've never actually tested the oxygen supply to my cells after consuming germanium. So I'm just basically parroting this. These also contain antihistamines. And this is shown, I guess, in human studies to relieve headaches and arthritic pain. The next species we're going to look at is the Birch Polypore, Fomitopsis betulina. Again, a very common species in Saskatchewan. So the conch is off-white, turning tan with age, and then becoming lighter towards the margin. They are either hoof or shelf-shaped. Here we see one that is shelf-shaped. The prior photo was hoof-shaped, right? I'll just show that there again, if you can see. So this has a short stipe with a lateral attachment or a sessile attachment. Again, that would just be it flush up against the tree. The margin curls under and is smooth. The whole surface is smooth, to be honest. There is a rough cuticle that peels away early on. You can see that happening there. It's kind of cracked. This looks like a younger one. And then it's pretty corky. It's corky and tough. Feels pretty much like a kind of a cork. I don't know how else to describe corky. And they grow up to about 10 inches across and about 5 inches high. So again, it can be a fairly large polypore. Here's a size reference for you of about a medium-sized one. This is something I like about them. Sometimes you'll see this, and you'll see this from other polypores too, but often I see birch polypores where they're growing underneath a piece of wood that has fallen, and as a result, all you see is this kind of flattened pancake-like structure. It's attached by the top, and all you see is basically just this pores hanging down. So the pores themselves are white to gray in color. The pores are very small and round. The pore surface appears depressed, kind of dented inwards due to the inward curled margin. You can see that very clearly here. It's kind of got that kind of cave shape to it. And these produce a white spore print. Again, you can see a new one on the left and then an older one that's kind of growing that tan coloration on the right. These are, again, either saprobic or parasitic. They grow on dead or dying birch trees. These cause a yellowish brown rot. They grow spring through fall, and they are solitary or scattered, or I would even say gregarious. Again, they're very common in this province. So, similar to another fungus that we'll be talking about later, which is chaga, this has very similar medicinal qualities that it is said to contain. So some of those qualities are actually because this extracts and compounds the betulinic acid from the birch tree that it is growing upon. And some of those qualities can actually be found in birch bark, but because this is bioaccumulating that betulinic acid, it's a bit more condensed here. So this is said, again, to boost portions of your immune system. It is shown to have anti-tumor properties. Again, unlikely that you're going to see those anti-tumor properties outside of what you'd be able to produce in a laboratory. And again, has shown benefits for type 2 diabetes. There's a whole bunch of other properties that are found with betulinic acid, and you could probably look those up on your own. This is the Willow Bracket, Phylinus igniarius. Now, I'm not sure how common this is in the province. We do have willow trees around, but this would require dead willow trees, and often those are cleared away, certainly in residential areas. So that's where you would find this. So the bracket is gray, turning black with age, hoof to eccentrically shaped, cracked and uneven. It's tough. It's got a cork or wood-like kind of quality to it. You'd have a hard time breaking this mushroom in half, right? You'd have to use an axe or a saw, just like a piece of wood. The outer margin is brown and felt-like. So this is almost like if mushrooms were a wizard, this is what it would be. As the mushroom wizard, this is almost like me, looking at me as a mushroom. Yay. Here's some more shots of it. Old and grizzled is how I would describe it, even if it's not old. Here's a size reference for you. They get quite big. The pores are brown to reddish brown. Despite that, they produce a white spore print. There you can see those pores. Again, these are parasitic, becoming saprobic. They grow directly upon hardwoods with a preference, like I said, for willow, as that name implies. They are solitary to scattered, and again, they're perennial. These will be happening, it'll grow year after year. So medicinal qualities. So what is known and what has been shown to occur in human studies, that's what I'm going to do first. So these do contain antioxidants. They have anti-inflammatory properties. They contain hispalin, which is used as a cancer preventative. This has antiviral properties and has been shown as effective against influenza and H1N1 and avian flu. Again, I'm going to think that for you to obtain those properties, you may actually have to have a laboratory setting so as to extract and compound those qualities. And then this is shown to improve blood circulation as well. In animal testing only, this is shown to have stroke prevention and shown to slow the progression of MS. My mother has MS, so I do hope that this goes beyond animal testing and actually proves beneficial to that area of research. Who knows? The next mushroom I'm going to talk about is the veiled polypore. This is Cryptoporus vulvatus. This one is really, really enjoyable. And not necessarily because of any medicinal benefits. So the conch, if you can call it a conch, I guess a globe, is cream to tan in color. It's spherical to hoof shaped. What we're looking at there is spherical. It is smooth or shiny. Now initially it's covered with a leathery reddish brown layer that peels away from the conch on the top half and on various parts. It has a sessile attachment, so it's just flush up against the wood, and it's fairly small. It only grows up to about 2 inches in diameter. Here you can see someone put their car keys on one to kind of give a size reference. The pores are brown in color and darkening with age. Now I'm going to get into why this is super interesting for me. So the pores are contained within a leathery pouch. So you see the tubes ending about halfway down there, and then there's this leathery pouch underneath that kind of prevents the spores from actually leaving the fruiting body. Very interesting. So there's this tiny little flap-like, trapdoor-like structure built into this, and this allows a specific type of bark beetle to enter into the structure, and that beetle eats away the tubes that produce the spores and then leaves carrying the spores with it, and then it'll go to another tree and infect another tree, right? So a very unique method of spore dispersal there that's reliant upon insects. This produces a pink spore print as well. Again, you can see that cut away. Someone's cut away the flap on the bottom, and you can see a beetle in there that's been feeding upon those tubes and will then carry spores away. And you can see those openings as well, those trapdoor openings that the beetles have entered through. So these are saprobic. They grow directly on freshly dead trees, so trees that have just died recently or suddenly, such as from a forest fire or something else that has just suddenly killed it. They are gregarious, and they are found summer through fall. In terms of their medicinal qualities, said to contain antioxidants. They have that same antiviral property that we were just looking at with the Willow Bracket. They have been shown to inhibit virus replication. How this could be used to help people, I don't know, but perhaps this could be used in types of research to combat viruses in some way. It has been shown to reduce phlegm and as well as inflammation of the respiratory system. And traditionally, that's what this has been used for. It's been used to treat asthma and throat pain. Now, don't go replace your inhaler with this, but it's said to have almost like a menthol effect. And now we're looking at the one that always has everybody so excited. This is Chaga Inonotus obliquus. If you've been on any mushroom group that's large, like the international ones, you will see is this chaga over and over again. More often than not, it's not. It's like a burl or something else. But the fruiting body is quite large, or can be quite large. It's up to about 12 inches across or more. It looks like a lumpy mass resembling charcoal. It is hard and brittle, and it breaks apart into pieces. It has a bit softer on the inside, and the internal structure is actually orange. It's dense, and it's monogamous in appearance. So take a look at. You can see there's one broken apart. These are parasitic, primarily upon birch species and rarely upon other hardwoods. This causes a white heart rot within the tree, so that's the actual like fungus there, and then it may last for decades before it actually kills the host tree, at which point it becomes saprotrophic. And to get a good size piece of chaga, generally speaking, it takes many years to form. So unlike a lot of the other mushrooms where we've talked about picking it is not going to hurt the species or anything like that, yada yada yada, generally speaking, chaga does take a lot longer to form and is not actually a mushroom. It's more of a tumor or a growth. So yeah, this one, if you don't need it, don't take it. And this occurs year-round. In terms of medicinal properties, this extracts and compounds betulinic acid from the birch tree and has some additional properties in and of itself. It's said to have some anti-tumor properties that are being studied right now. Again, it is used in some places to boost portions of your immune system so that you can actually take chemotherapy a bit better. And again, has shown benefits for type 2 diabetes. Now, I will say right now, a lot of people are going to always have this confusion. I found some chaga, it's not on a birch tree. I would not even call that chaga. It is the same species, but chaga to me is almost like a product, right? And if it's not growing on a birch tree, there's no reason to take it because it doesn't have those properties. It's just a lump of mushroom-like tumor. It's got nothing for you. So if you don't see it on a birch tree, no reason to take it. And the final species we're going to talk about is the Hoof Fungus Fomus fomentarius. So again, this is a conch. It is brown to gray, different shades of which form these kind of like concentric bands of gray going down. This is the old man of fungi. It's hoof-shaped. It's hard and wood-like, again, like cork or like varnished wood almost. There's a sessile attachment to that tree. As you can see right there, there is no stipe of any kind. They can get pretty large, up to about 8 inches across. Here we go. There's one broken in half, so you can see the inside. Looks very wooden inside too. See those tubes hanging down? That's where the spores come through. Here's a size reference for you. The pores are off-white, quickly becoming tan to brown. They're round pores, and these produce a yellow spore print. Here you can see that clearly. These are parasitic to saprobic. They are found growing directly upon hardwoods. These are preferential to birch. They are solitary to scattered, and they are, again, perennial. These will grow the same fungus will grow for several years, the same fruiting body. The medicinal qualities include antioxidant properties, antiviral properties, and this can also be used as a laxative. In terms of animal testing, it is shown to boost the immune system, to have anti-inflammatory effects, as well as, again, those anti-tumor effects. But that's not just going to come from making a tea necessarily. That's going to come from isolating certain compounds in a laboratory. Though it could come from tea. I mean, again, like I said, I'm not an expert on this. If anybody knows further, let me know. All the species that I've covered are species that were not covered in another presentation. There's actually a whole lot of other medicinal mushrooms in Saskatchewan. I've put a list here. I'm not going to go through it. You can see it. These are all covered in other presentations or presentations yet to come. So that is everything. This is the Mushroom Wizard. I hope you enjoyed this. Hope nobody shoots me for this presentation, because some of these topics are a bit contested. And have yourself a wonderful day. Thank you.